What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Mafia, the old country, one more time before everything starts to happen. We're in the release week. I don't know if you want to call it officially. Maybe you want to wait till Monday to say that, but review scores are probably going to go live like Tuesday, Wednesday. Game comes out later on this week. So I kind of just wanted to do a pulse check and talk about my excitement, but also have a little bit of a discussion on what I've seen other people say. Now, look, ultimately, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that is what makes it fun, is it not? You can have your opinion on Mafia. I can have mine. I'm very excited. I mean, I've already made enough videos, I think, talking about that, so we'll kind of skip through that. So to kind of talk about what, again, I've seen more online, which is a lot of, I guess, like meh, like MEH is kind of the response I've seen from a lot of, whether it's prominent, like Twitter folks, YouTube folks. I've searched like Reddit to kind of see people. Now you could say, okay, searching Reddit maybe is not the greatest idea. I just kind of wanted to get a pulse check for what people out there were thinking. You could look at like the likes to dislikes on any of these trailers, and for me, I've been under the impression, well, okay, literally for me, right? I've been very excited about everything that we've seen. I think bringing Mafia back to 1 and 2, or 1 definitive edition, whatever you want to say, I think that's the right move. I think 3, and this is coming, by the way, from somebody who just replayed all 3 of these games like within the last month and a half, okay? So I have them fresh in my mind, and I can tell you, I feel that Mafia 3 went the wrong way, all right? So Mafia, bringing it back, the old country, to Mafia 1 and 2, I think is the right play. And then everything we've seen. Now, look, ultimately, I really think it's definitely hard to fully judge it. And I think the most important part of the best Mafia games is the story and the characters. And those are things that are very difficult to figure out, like if they're going to work through the trailers, right? The trailers really are there to show the environment, some of the missions, some of the gameplay. Honestly, some of the stuff that is weaker in the Mafia games. It's going to be about Enzo. It's going to be about that family and how, again, these characters intertwine, the twists and turns that happen in the story. That's going to be I would argue, make or break with this game, all right? And that's very hard to convey in the trailer. Now, what I've seen from other people is like, well, it's kind of everything else. I mean, I can personally say I saw a lot of people over the last week or two talk about the clunkiness of the combat, and that just got me, and this was on Twitter, and it's got me thinking, man, like, have we played a Mafia in recent time? Now, look, I'm not going to say that you can't say that the gameplay doesn't need work, or it's a little bit on the weaker side. But I will say, I think the gameplay is almost, I don't want to say supposed to be like that, but I feel like there's a reason why it is clunkier. And also, it's kind of just the way that it's been. I guess, okay, my bone to pick from what I've seen people kind of criticizing the game is like things that we've either known about for a long time or things that have been around for a long time, right? So when people talk about the gameplay, it's like, Mafia 3 is the least clunky, including even Mafia Definitive Edition. I mean, that thing, Tommy moves like a freaking rock, right? And again, it feels purposeful, and I feel like it works, and I honestly feel once I play it for a couple hours, I'm in. Like, it does feel foreign, all right, the first little while, but then once you're in it, I feel like you kind of pick up how you move left to right or up and down, with a gun, and you take aim, right? I just feel like you kind of get into it, and you almost accept it for what it is, and it's got a different feel, but like, I don't know, that's the bone to pick, I think, with that argument, where it's like, Mafia 3, even, it was more fluid. Mafia 3 was definitely more fluid than 1 and 2, but it's still, like, you move around with Lincoln, and you tell me that that's, like, the most fluid gameplay of all time. Again, does that make it amazing? Probably not, but I feel like it fits for what they're trying to do. So I guess the old country looking like that is not, to me, all that foreign. It's not like, oh my God, why does it look stiff to move left and right? To be honest with you, by the way, I think the gameplay looks pretty good. I think I've said this before, like the combat or taking aim with, say, like a shotgun and firing, it looks like the best of Mafia 1 because of the definitive edition, right? Kind of ironing out some of the stuff. And like the reticle bouncing around, right? Because like you don't fully have like full control of the gun. So it takes a lot of those elements. And then Mafia 3, where it is a little bit more fluid, but it's still relatively difficult to move left, right, up, down. And I also think, again, when it comes to the gameplay side, like shooting and all that jazz, I think these Mafia games, again, when they're at their best, is when they're the most diverse. Okay, you think about some of the missions in Mafia 1, 2, 3. Mafia 3 actually did have some incredible missions, but because of the open world and because of rinsing and repeating so many times, the missions are so separated where it doesn't feel as diverse back to back. But you think about kind of the golden like stretch of like where Mafia 1 and 2 feel the best. It's when the story and characters are kicking, and it's, you know, this kind of crime boss type thing, right? And then you also have the gameplay swapping in and out. So you're in a car chase and then you're chasing somebody, and think about 2 with like the window washing, right? And then you think about 1 with the plane, and there's a lot of variety and a lot of back forth that they do. That's where I feel like it's actually at its strongest. And again, I think that's actually kind of difficult to show off in the trailers. Another thing I've seen, which I do not think is new to the franchise, but I do want to double back down to like Mafia 1 and 2, I think being a good idea to go back there. Some of the more controversial, I think, opinions online are when people say, well, I want it to be more like GTA. I want it to be open. And I have seen Mafia fans kind of go at that, where it's like, you know, and I'll say, me personally, I'm not a big fan of that argument either. Again, like, I don't want to put roadblocks. I don't want to say, hey, you can't complain about XYZ, okay? You should be able to say whatever you want to say, all right? And if they want to listen, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But when I think of Mafia, I think of Mafia. I will say, I don't think you have to make it GTA. So if the argument is, well, I just feel like there's more we could do here, like with the open world, like why isn't it feeling more like why can't it be Red Dead with like Mafia bosses, right? Why can't it be Mafia but like a GTA style thing? Well, that's because it's GTA. Like, you're describing, when you try to say what you think Mafia should be, oftentimes the arguments that I see is trying to transform the game into GTA. And I think there's a valid pushback to that. And so I don't think that's as like defined. When I see people saying that online, I don't think that's as strong of an argument, right? But it is, you know, it's something that I haven't really been around too much when new Mafia games come out. I was around with the Definitive Edition stuff, and I guess I was around when 3 came out, but not in the same way I am now. I imagine this is how it's always been, but to be honest with you, we saw what happened when they tried to go a little bit more GTA, and I think they went more like Far Cry. You know, like they went open, they went in that way GTA, and then they did the repetition thing that like a Ubisoft type game, or I mean, honestly, some open world games do it too, and they do it, I think, in a wrong way. So I mean, I don't know, for me personally, we've quite literally seen the 2 different ways this can be done. Not that technically there shouldn't be or there can't be a third way, because obviously there can be, but if they want to go back to, hey, this is not 40 hours, which, by the way, 35 of those 40 hours is pure fluff. It's really got no, you know, quality to it. If we want to go back to Mafia 1 and 2, I see that as a win. And for people to say, you know, why can't they stick with the open world stuff? It's like, again, could you do it well, or could you do it better than you did 3? Yeah, but I do think the secret sauce of Mafia in regards to Mafia 1 and 2 is making you feel like you're there, right? Like making that world feel alive and feel like you're in that time period with the cars, with the shooting, with the guns, with the environment, but then limiting you and saying, hey, well, this is a story game, and you're not really going to be able to go out and do 50 hours of side stuff. I think that's actually kind of what Mafia is. And so basically all the stuff I'm describing is kind of why I've been a really big fan since the beginning of the idea of the old country, and then what they've shown for the old country. Like, I think it, again, some things are hard to show. And then even with the combat, it's like you kind of just need to get into the feel. I really think you kind of fall into it after a couple hours. But, you know, I like how it's sounding. I like how it's looking. I think they're doubling down on hopefully the strongest elements of Mafia. So I'm extremely excited. This is one of my most anticipated games of the fall. It's one of my most anticipated games of August. I look forward to, you know, getting into it, seeing what the reviews say, and then being able to play it myself. I'll do a review. I'll probably live stream it this Friday, but I'll have several videos. I kind of want to do a ranking video of where this falls in the Mafia world, so we'll do a bunch of different stuff as this week goes on. Let me know what you think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.